Hi, this is Rennie here. In this short video, I'm going to show you how to use Excel pivot tables. Now, Excel pivot tables are a really powerful feature in Excel. You can save quite a lot of time if you know how to use Excel pivot tables properly. Now, if you are an Excel pivot table expert, please share this video with your colleagues and friends who may benefit from it. Now, before I start, I'd like to introduce you to a course that I've created online. The course is called Excel Dashboard Training. Obviously, with the Excel Dashboard Training course, I show you step by step how to create an Excel dashboard using pivot tables. Please go to exceldashboardtraining.com to have a look at the course. It is only $3.99. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot more value from it. Again, if you don't like to buy the course, no problem. So let's get started. Okay, so I've got some data on my screen, and I'm going to create an Excel pivot tables from this data range. Now, this data range is about 1,500 rows long. So if I just do Control and arrow down, I can get to the bottom of the range, and you can see that I've got 1,500 records. So let me go up again. Let me go up again. And the only thing you need to be able to do to create Excel pivot tables is to be able to click, drag and drop. It's that easy. So the first step to create an Excel pivot table is to click on the data range. Again, click on the data range, click on Insert, Pivot Table. And you'll notice that a wizard appears, or an Excel pivot table wizard appears on your screen, and it automatically selects the range of data that you've actually got on the screen. And it basically asks you certain questions, and I always leave it as new sheet. And say OK, and you'll see a little template that actually appears on the screen where you can query the data you have on the other sheet. So what I always like to do is to go back to the classic pivot table methodology, where you can drag and drop on top of the pivot table itself. So to do that, I go into Options, and under Display, I would click on Classic Pivot Table Layout, and I click on OK, and you'll notice that I've got a little template here with more which looks different. It basically says drop value fields here, drop row fields here, and drop column fields here, and drop report fields here. So what are value fields? Now, value fields are basically fields that can be summarized from a data range. So let me go back to the data range itself. And a value field that you can summarize here is basically, or in other words, can you actually sum the range, or can you actually count the number of items in the range? But generally, in this data range, boxes sold is going to be something that you can sum, or I think ideally you'll be able to sum the number of boxes sold in total. So I'd just like to know how many boxes I have in total, so that to check that the pivot table report is getting it right. So I click on arrow down. By the way, let me put the and you just basically add the number of boxes. So make sure that you leave a little row in between, so that the pivot table wizard doesn't get confused. So I just putting a sum formula equals sum, and Control Shift arrow up to add the range. And that tells me that I've got 980 boxes that I've sold. So let me go back to the pivot table wizard and drag the number of boxes sold into, by the way, what you've got on the right side here is the column headers that you've got on the data range. So if you go back to the data range, you can see salesperson, products, country, data, date, and boxes sold. So let me go back to the pivot table and drag the boxes sold into the value field here, and you'll see that I've got 980,000 boxes that the pivot table wizard has brought up, which is correct. That is 980,000 boxes. So next thing I'm going to do is to maybe find out how many boxes were sold by product. So basically what you need to do, that you can then do, is to drag the products into the column area, and that gives you the number of boxes sold by products. If you want to expand this further and also know in which countries these products are sold, you can drag the country into the column area, and that will expand it again to show you what countries these boxes are sold and under what by product. I've also got salesperson here. Now, can I use salesperson? I can use salesperson in a number of ways. If I want it on the same sheet, I can drag it in between the value field settings and the products. That'll give you a good summary of the salespeople selling how the product Apple was sold by salesperson. Excuse me. So now if you want to actually change the order, all you need to do is to drag and drop the salesperson to the front. That will give you by salesperson how these products are sold. This formatting is a bit, I don't like this formatting, so I'm going to show you how to format this Excel pivot table. So to do that, you right click in a cell, go into pivot value field settings, and sum is correct, go into number format, and I'd like to use number custom, and I'm going to use a custom number format. And you see the number format has changed. And if I want to highlight the highlight the salesperson's names so that it actually is more prominent, that row is more prominent, you see, notice that my cursor changes to a black arrow. When the cursor changes to a black arrow, I click on the total rows. All the total rows are highlighted now. Now I can go back and use the normal Excel pivot table functionality to format these rows. So I'm going to use a green there. There you go, and that is nicely formatted now. See, so that is a quick pivot table tutorial to show you what pivot tables can do. Again, the most important thing when you're creating a pivot table is to make sure you understand that the data needs to be organized in a list format. So I'm going to explain this to you. So if I go into the same data range, this was I just took a copy of it just to explain this concept. So list format is basically proper column headers in the list, and also each of those headers have meaningful information organized below them. So salesperson has got the salesperson's name, products have got the products, and the country has got the country names and the dates and so on. So that line, or each of these lines, are called records. So just to make it absolutely clear, that row is a record, and these two rows are again that's two records, data records. The other thing you got to absolutely make sure is that there are no gaps in the columns when you're creating a pivot table. For an example, let me insert a column and show this to you. If I insert a column, you'll notice there's a blank column there, and if I now click on insert pivot table, you'll notice that the Excel pivot table wizard has just only selected 3 columns. So I'll cancel that, and just if I now want to include the entire range, if I include the entire range and then click on pivot table and say OK, there's an error message, and the error message says the pivot table field name is not valid. To create a pivot table, you must use data that's organized in a list with labeled columns. So that error is because I don't have a labeled column here. So how do you fix that? I'll just say OK to that. You either delete this column, or just include a column header there that you can exclude later in your data range, or put some meaningful information that relates to this information. So hopefully that was a really helpful short video to show you what can be achieved using pivot tables. And if you want to know more about how to use pivot tables, I go through it in a little bit more detail in my Excel course, which is excel-training.com. And in this little course, I show you how to, within 1 hour, I promise that you will be able to create an interactive Excel dashboard. And this is promise. I have included all the Excel files that you need to go through the course. It is only $3.99, and the amount of value you're going to get out of it is, I'm absolutely certain that you'll get a lot more value out of that than the $3.99. Okay, so visit excel-training.com if you want to have a look at that course. If you don't want to buy it, no problem at all. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next time.